first and foremost, thank you for joining and staying with us up until now. The topic of our panel will be the future of mobile games ad monetization, methods, market. With me, my panelists, I myself am the moderator. I'm Yarkın Arıhan, Business Development Manager for Aden Games. We've got Tom Cohen from OVIVO Games. We've got Chris Lefebvre.
Oh God, every day of my life.
We've got Chris. Chris is here with us from ByteBrew, and then we've got Ömer Yakabagi from Gravite. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. So, once again, thanks to everyone for sticking with us up until the later hours of the session, but we've saved the best for last, for sure. Now, before we start, I'd like to make a little introduction before we dive into the topic. Why don't we start with everyone just briefly, introducing themselves, how you got into this industry, what made you, want to chase this, I guess, career, what was the passion, what was the motivation behind it? Tom, why don't we start with you?
Yeah.
Left or right?
Let's see if you can hear me. Yeah? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Hi. So thanks for having me here, everybody. It's great to be here. So I'm Tom Cohen. I'm the head of UA and monetization at OVIVO Games. I've been in the industry for a few years already. I think I came to the industry after I understand I'm basically the only person in the world that likes the ads within the games, and I wanted to understand what is going on. A little bit about us. We already had a great presentation here before me. So we are like a publishing house, an innovative publishing house. We specialize in both hyper and hybrid casual games. We have a bit of a different approach than most of the mainstream publisher in the ecosystem. And I think that publisher, like game developers, have higher chances to publish their games with us compared to other mainstream publishers. Yeah, and this is me.
Cool. Great. Definitely unconventional, to say the least, kind of like out-of-the-box method. You guys got an approach, especially with the previous speaker, Roy, as well, mentioned it. Definitely a new approach, I guess, to the whole publishing business. Glad to have you among us. Chris?
Hi, I'm Chris Lefebvre.
Lefebvre, sorry.
It's the easy way, anyway. I've been in the space since about 2014. I've worked in UA, monetization, mediation, publishing, analytics. And to talk about why I joined the industry, prior to all of this, I was working in online retail, and I was working long hours, sweating over manufacturing defects and dealing with taxes and VAT and shipping delays and customer complaints and just a bunch of nonsense. And then I learned that virtual goods were a thing, and I asked myself, why am I making real things when I can make more money on fake things? So I immediately shuttered my involvement with the real world and began dabbling in this alternate reality, and haven't looked back since.
Definitely a very radical transition, to say the least. Definitely, probably the most interesting background today I've heard. That's wonderful. Very happy to have you among us today as well. Thank you. Ömer?
So first of all, definitely pleasure to share this panel with you guys. And for me, I started working in mobile gaming industry after many years in different industries, so like sports tourism, English language teaching, medical, etc. So it was pretty crazy one. Apart from that, I started with Moby Dictum. I think all of you already know, so these guys are still rocks.
Yeah.
After working for media side, a couple of it was pretty good one. And right now, I started working on the ad monetization, mediation, network business, and yeah, going pretty well. Apart from that, like hyper casual games, hybrid casual games are still rocking, and it's pretty good to be up to date. And yeah, that's why here to share this beautiful panel with you.
Awesome. Great to have you here as well. A lot of different backgrounds, especially. Like you would expect, people would be coming from gaming backgrounds and stuff like that, but no. I myself, I was also in the IT industry for nearly a decade. I used to do HR, executive affairs, quality management. Eventually, I got tired of wearing a suit and tie to work, and ever since I was a child, I always had a ton of fun playing video games, just diving into, I guess, different fantasy worlds. When I got the chance to move to Aden Games as the business manager, I took it, and I haven't looked back since. And yeah, hopefully things are going to get even better from now on. Great. Once again, thank you guys so much for being with us. So let's start with the main, I guess, intro. Obviously, the main topic of the panel, the future of mobile games ad monetization. Let's talk about some of the current methods in the market, maybe. Obviously, when it comes to ad monetization, there are more than one methods. There's a lot of different options that you can, a lot of different approaches that you can adapt. And let's talk about some of the current methods. Let's talk about some specific methods. Is there like a specific method that is best suited for like a type of game, a genre, whether it be hyper-casual, whether it be runner, clicker, whatever? What are your thoughts on that?
I'll take this one. I think that from the publisher perspective, the biggest change that we saw in the industry in the past year, and we're going to see it like much more clearly this year and in the years to come, is the transition from hyper-casual to hybrid casual. And in terms of ads monetization, it means a transition to a much more, like to an economy that is characterized by much more user-initiated ads rather than forced ads, or like more rewarded video ads and less interstitial ads. And I think that what we see in our games, if you implement this economy in a good and balanced way, in the end you will improve main KPIs like retention rate, play time, usage rate with ads, etc. And in the long run you will basically improve your LTV. When you improve your LTV, I think that two important things happens. The first one will be that you will, first of all, significantly improve the amount or increase the amount of money you will make from your game. And the second thing will be that you will afford to acquire users in a much higher CPI, because you will have like a wider, like you can acquire users in a higher CPI, so you will basically support the growth of your game as well. So this is what I see, the biggest change.
Yeah, definitely a new trend in the industry. I'd agree with that. Any thoughts?
Yeah, that's a couple thoughts, I guess. If we think about the future of ad monetization in terms of ad strategies, how to best monetize a user through ads, one, it's hard to separate that from the world of user acquisition as a whole. So, I think we have to think long and hard about the budgets from which we're trying to monetize to set our expectations as to how much revenue we'd expect to generate from ads. And that obviously is a landscape that has shifted drastically. But I think with that, there is an increasing need. If you think about like kind of the shifts of the industry pre, during, and post hyper-casual, which is a term I use with great reticence, but here we are, and we all use that word, and we understand it, so whatever. Hyper-casual was, a word that describes a market condition that allows people to generate a positive LTV or a positive ROI on ads alone, virtually. And I think as we see, not necessarily a change from hyper to hybrid, but rather just the decline of hyper overall, that's less and less possible. And I think what we need to be focused on in terms of ad types and ad strategies as a whole is how does this impact user experience, right? Because fundamentally, if you want to generate as much revenue as possible from positive ROI, you actually are required or beholden to produce a quality user for that advertiser. So if you're, I think I take more of a game design or user experience perspective when I think about this question, and certainly with a focus on rewarded video, opt-in ads of any form, you know, the placement is key, right? When is it served? How is it served? What does it offer the user? When does it offer it to them? You know, these are the ingredients that will lead towards the user clicking the ad for the game that they see, going on to install it. And of course, I mean, the content that is shown is a big piece of that as well, but in terms of what's in the developer's hands, when they show it, how they show it, this is what you want to be really careful with when it comes to maintaining the quality of the user itself for the advertiser, so that you don't see a further disappearance of those budgets, right? Because fundamentally, if an advertiser sees, I'm sure you have to deal with this all the time, an advertiser sees that there's a low quality traffic source, they're just going to pause that, right? So that revenue that you were generating is going to disappear if you don't put thought into how and when you serve the ad.
Couldn't agree more. If you don't form that bridge of information between developers, you know, the mediation side, the ad side, if there's an experience that's going to hinder the user experience, that's not going to be sustainable in the long run. That's going to kill traffic. That's going to just completely devaluate your product. And even though, like, we look at KPIs, we look at metrics and stuff like that, you can't really forego user experience. That's just one thing that you can't, you know, sacrifice from. So I 100% agree with what you've said. Thanks a lot.
Actually, definitely agree with both of you, especially Chris, you mentioned about user experience side, also advertiser side, which are pretty crucial for ad side. But I also would like to talk about ad format side. So just adding up some comments on your side. So I think we have been facing a big transition in hyper-casual gaming from, in the beginning, you know, publishers were rushing for interstitials and even forcing, I don't know, so many low seconds, sometimes even per 20 seconds, which is crazy. And, you know, I'm sure all of...
But it worked.
Yeah.
For a little bit.
And at the same time, I think all of us saw the Play Store comments, hey, like the game doesn't let me to keep seeing the ads, please, like, don't interrupt me, I want to watch the ads, so like, these type of really interesting jokes. But yeah, what I mean, I think publishers were rushing into interstitials, but right now we are more on the rewarded side by, again, thinking about user experience and advertiser side, which means, first of all, rewarded are for rewards, generally, especially we should think about idle genre. You watch and, I don't know, you get some golds, gems, whatever. And interstitials are generally interrupting the gameplay, which everyone hates, including me. And how about the banner side? Of course, user experience. So you have a limited screen, and actually mostly like this side and this part is banner, and it's changing every, 15 seconds, like, and just really boring. So yeah, what I mean, I think we are currently facing a big change on ad format side, also with the additions of in-game advertisings, which I mean that's non-interrupting in-game ad side. Also, we will see audio ads in future. So that's why I think next year will be a year that we will talk about the effect of new ad formats more and more, because I think currently it's already old school. So,
but will we see a different conversion point? Because fundamentally, if we go again back to that UA side, everybody's running install campaigns by and large, right? So as great as these, I mean, you know, this feels a lot like 2017 when there was like there was audio ads. It was like, what if there's a billboard for Coca-Cola in your game, or what if you finish a run and you get to like a, you know, an ad for, you know, an energy bar or something like that. Like it was never there, right? Like there isn't brand campaign. No one's really operating on CPM campaigns. Everything's on CPI campaigns.
Right.
So, you know, are we really like? Is the future the past? Is that what's happening? Like, are we going
it's like
to
an endless loop.
do this? Tell ourselves the
this
same
works
thing?
for 3 years, and then for the next 3 years, there's like another trend. But we've seen that before. I have to agree with Ömer as well, because you know, at the end of the day, I'm a gamer myself. And I've been seeing more of those like non-intrusive ads. I've been seeing success of rewarded ads. As a matter of fact, we recently had like a little soft launch, and rewarded ads have been just our bread and butter so far. which is surprising. And it's nothing that we haven't seen before, but there's still a shift in the trend. I can feel that as well. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's the whole like dynamic of the industry. It's constantly shifting, constantly evolving. What might work 6 months ago might become obsolete in the next 6 months. And it's just kind of, I guess, up to us as members of the industry to kind of like keep up with the trends and decide what's best for the entirety of the industry.
Sorry, if I could just go, yeah, you go first, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to end this, finalize our topic, which I think it's pretty valuable for publisher side. First of all, I think for mobile game publishing, publishers shouldn't be, also I think, as you guys are directly from the publisher side, we shouldn't forget the publishing is totally for the user side. So I think when also thinking about the ad monetization side, we should always be having the empathy, which is not actually coming to real because money is maybe sweeter, so you can just pump and more. So, and another topic that I wanted to mention, we should also be thinking more about the advertiser side. So just like the games are for users, the games are also for advertisers because we make money because advertisers spend their cash flow. So yeah, please.
Well, I was going to just sort of maybe touch on, you know, we often have these conversations like what ad strategy is best, what ad format is best, when should I serve that ad, when should I serve that ad? But rarely are we talking about what makes a game so good that you will, you know, suffer through the ads, right? At no point does anybody ever truly love ads, but a game can be so good that you'll stomach it.
Makes it worth to watch the ad.
So, you know, I think hopefully, I think there's like many timelines of futures that we could find ourselves in. Some of them are darker than others, but hopefully we find ourselves in a timeline where we realize that the landscape as it exists today and the challenges that it presents forces us to create that much better content, right? Not how do I get more people to click on this rewarded video, how do I find a new ad unit to shove in there, but how do I make a game so good in a market, in a landscape that's so crowded and allow it to stand out where it's okay that ads are played, right? Because that's fundamentally what's going to provide, produce a quality user and also benefit the advertisers the most as well. It's not like, if you think about like the Super Bowl, for example, right, and how much people spend to advertise on that, it has nothing to do with, like the format. It's the same format as is served in any other television experience ever. It's the quality of. I'm not a big football fan, but apparently the Super Bowl is a pretty important experience in football, and it's that, right? It's the experience of the actual content. It has nothing to do with the format itself. I think we need to take that mindset when it comes to, how do we make ads work? We make the games work. That's like you can't serve ads without those games anyway.
The Super Bowl is a great example to support what you said because I feel like I'm not entirely sure about this, but I think Super Bowl ads are one of the, if not the most expensive platform to like showcase an ad, and what makes it worth is people's passion for the final football game, and people sit through that. People think it's worth it. Same with what you said. You have to make content that's worth sitting through ads, and I think like a couple of seconds of a Super Bowl ad goes up to a couple of $1 million just to showcase your product.
And
for
they're
like 5 seconds
they're
or
made
something
for
like that.
the Super Bowl.
That's
right?
ridiculous.
They're not taking the ad that they ran last month and running that on the Super Bowl. It's made
it's specifically
for
tailored
the Super Bowl,
for
right? And they want to win. They want to have the best ad of the Super Bowl. It's a Super Bowl unto itself.
It's like a Super Bowl between the other companies, fighting for the best ad on the Super Bowl. That's their Super Bowl. It's very interesting definitely reference there. Thanks for bringing that up.
Just another comment because it's really interesting part. Like what you mentioned is also connected to every game's being unique. So I also wanted to touch on that part. Of course, the product is beyond everything. So first of all, it should be perfect and users should be willing to play 24/7. But apart from that, I think when thinking about the ad monetization side, we should be understanding every genre specifically. I think most publishers are playing the opponent, companies, publishers, games. But apart from that, they can also be creative with more A/B tests, maybe. So what I mean, I think last year we were seeing more and more banners every game because it was like not interrupting, extra money flow, like side hustle stuff. But right now we are not seeing. So I think that's the reason of these constant A/B testing. So what I mean, I think every game has a potential if the product is good, and the publishers must continue A/B testing to find better solutions, which can be in a concrete situation. Maybe instead of fully banners and interstitials, just a perfect rewardus scenario, and maybe tripling or even 10 times higher revenue in the end. So yeah, that's what I observed in the market recently.
Nice, definitely. I'm going to sway the topic just a tiny bit. We've talked about multiple strategies when it comes to ad monetization, different methods, different approaches, different, I guess, methods for different games, different genres. What about when it comes to choosing a mediation platform? What are the crucial aspects, the most important things to consider when it comes to choosing a mediation platform?
I guess Ömer will have a couple of sentences to say about this question, but I think, again, I'm taking this question from the publisher perspective. I think that the number one thing to look at will be you want to find a mediation platform where the auction won't be biased, because let's be honest, if we're looking on, for example, AdMob, so AdMob are a mediation platform and a network as well. And Max Uploving have Uploving Exchange and Uploving Network. And Unity now bought Iron Source, so they have Unity and Iron Source as well. So, you need to make sure that each network is getting an equal chance to win each and every impression, and that you don't have a specific network that is getting like a...
Well, who do you use?
What I use?
Yeah.
Basically, I have an experience with all the major ones like AdMob, Max, and Level Play. You will see, unfortunately, biased auctions in any of them because everybody have interest in the end, but you need to run basically an A/B test and to compare, I think, one against each other and find which one works for you the best. I think it depends on where do you spend your UA budgets as well, because if you spend your UA budgets on, Network X, so you might want to work with their mediation as well, because you will get some benefits from it. And I think that the second thing I will look at is the coverage that the mediation platform have of RTB channels, because the industry is going towards like full RTB kind of monetization, and it's a good thing because RTB makes your life much more easier as a publisher, as a monetization manager. It's like it makes everything much more easier. And the third thing, I think, will be the ease of running an A/B test. It's super important because in the end, running an A/B test, it's the bread and butter of ads monetization. It's something that you need to do each and every day. You need to have at least like 10 A/B tests running simultaneously. This is the only way that you will be able to optimize your eCPM. Of course, when we're speaking on an RTB kind of world, so you have to run a lot of A/B tests. So you need to make sure that the ease of running an A/B test will be pretty straightforward and easy to implement. And on the other hand, that the reports that you will get from your platform will be very straightforward, so you will be able to really gain insights from looking on those reports.
Well said. I think we have been going 1, 2, 3, no?
Yeah, we'll switch it up. Let's keep it.
Yeah. You have experience.
Better user experience for everybody.
It's an A/B test.
More variety.
It's an A/B test, Omar.
Yeah, okay.
You see what works best, for the audience.
Actually, I would like to continue with a question for both of you. How do you think about the communication side? I think we are always talking about the performance, you know, like because at the end of the day, revenue talks. But apart from that, how do you think about the communication side when it comes to the mediation?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little while since I've had to think about these things. I'm by no means an expert, but I think support is, you know, good customer support in any business is important. And is incredibly hard to get access to. I think a lot of people here are probably, you know, developers in the say 2 to 10 people range, you know, mainly working with publishers. So you're kind of like, you're not really dealing day to day with that layer of things anyway. And if you try to self-publish, you're entering, you know, a veritable shit show of problems that you never anticipated having to deal with before. And you know, yeah, I think customer support is paramount, right? Like, you know, I've made games and used AdMob. Do you think I'm ever going to get AdMob on the phone to help me with anything? Like, no. And it's like, and it's just help on like, how do I flip this switch, or how do I make sure this is right? And like, I don't know if what I'm doing is right or wrong. So, absolutely, I think communication with the platforms is key. Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. But you never really get there unless you're big enough, right? And you don't really get big enough unless you're kind of doing it all yourself anyway. And I feel like, yeah, so I don't know, to answer your question, very important.
Yeah, I also would like to hear from publisher side.
I totally agree with you. Actually, it's something that I want to brought up, but one of the things that you need to check when you're looking for a mediation platform will be you have to have someone on a direct channel, either Slack, Skype, or whatever you use, because if you out of nowhere getting kind of a strange email that you did something wrong and so we are not going to serve ads on your app until you're going to fix this thing that you did. So basically you want to die at that very moment. So you need to have someone that will calm you down and will say, listen, you did X, please do Y, and we will help you. So I totally agree with, and it's a great question. Like, you have to have someone on a direct channel that can answer you like by the minute from the monetization, from the mediation side. Yeah.
I think for me the biggest handicap of being a giant one, and in the market currently we see, like, not needed to name them always, but like 4 or 5 giant players, including AdMob. And when you have many more publishers, of course it's better for money, you have a higher income, but at the same time your account management team actually stays stable, which means you actually are getting less support, less communication. Then in the end it ends up with the loss of your publishers. Actually, apart from that, your first topic, Tom, was really interesting, because every mediation is talking about free to use, really, like even in their webpage it's written like that. But actually I think everyone should be understanding there's nothing free, first of all, because we are service providers. Yeah, we are service providers. We are doing it for making money, no? So, yeah, that's, and actually you really explained it very well. And just to inform, on our side, actually, we don't own a net network. And how we operate in the mediation system is basically making it fully open auction without prioritizing or any backend change stuff, just at the same time, real-time bidding, as you also explained, RTB side. And yeah, it's what it is. So it's transparency, and transparency is the thing that I want to come up. So thanks to this, we are opening the gate for publishers to see everything. So we always say that in our mediation, you see what we see, actually, which is very unique, I think. So they can see all the, I would say, profitability. So also how much we earn out of that publisher. I think that's the uniqueness of our side. So our team founded our company 10 years ago with the goal of we will make everything transparent for publishers, because they were also developers and they checked all mediations at that time, and you don't know how much you make. You know, it's also the same for, I don't know, YouTube, for example. YouTubers don't know how YouTube make out of these people. Okay. So yeah, I also wanted to ask you about overall. Do you think are they really transparent, or how is the transparency? How are your experience?
I have to be honest. Again, we use Max after we explore, all the ecosystem, and we thought Max would be the best fit for us. I do think that they are being pretty transparent with us, to be fair with them, but I will say that, again, everybody have interests. In the end, we work for something, and I think that you need to be at least a medium-sized publisher in order to get this kind of transparency. Once you will be a mid-sized publisher and you will get a dedicated account manager, you will be able to make this personal touch and to push the right points in order to get the right transparency. But of course, mediation platform, it's not the most transparent, transparent thing I ever worked with in my life. But
I'm so glad you brought us there, actually, because I mean, I think fundamentally transparency is the name of the game, right? Like good customer. Exactly. If we think about, again, the divergent paths that lead us to the future, and we think about what the future looks like, there's darker and brighter timelines. I think there is an opportunity for transparency, true transparency, not like customer support or your guy being a stopgap for the lack of transparency inherent to the product. Where are my requests going, for example? I mean, if you look at the, even the networks of the mediation providers that are out there, like how many people even mask requests is absolutely insane. Yeah. Because that's everything, right? If you can't report on requests, how can you report on fill, truly, and all that kind of stuff? So I think, we have an opportunity in pushing the future of ad monetization or any platform that you're using to really open that, open the floodgates on all that kind of stuff. Because then it's like, if you think about, some of the relationships you've had with account managers and stuff, it's like everyone's kind of working everyone, like everyone's trying to get, and that's fine, everyone can use everyone, that's fine. But think about how much easier and more stress-free your life would be if it was just there, right? If it's just there to figure out, and it was it was available in a way that everybody could understand and act on themselves. How much better is that for the ecosystem as a whole, right? How much more empowered are game designers, developers, product managers? How much more are they empowered to make the best of their products, and compete more aggressively in UA, in monetization, which again produces more value for advertisers over the long run. So I 100% agree. Transparency as a product, not as a benefit, is ideally where our future takes us. But let me ask you this, because the one role that I had in mediation was also non-biased mediation. So what happens when an ad network comes to you and says, hey, we really want to buy your ad mediation platform?
That's the biggest challenge that ad networks want, because in the end of the day, they also want the highest profitability. But for us, it's like a fixed thing. I think it's pretty German logic. So it's always, what is it? What it is never change. So it's like a rule-based thing. So considering our company has been going in the same direction, so they wouldn't change definitely. But it's really great point. And actually, I also want to touch on the black box parts in not only mediation side, but also ad network side. And I think it looks like it will continue like that. So publishers don't know most of the things. I'm not talking about general information, general culture stuff, but about, for example, how much money they could make more, or how much money they are actually losing. So, because when you, ad monetization is the side that you never understand how much money, how much big opportunity you are missing because you're not paying. On the opposite side, on user acquisition, you are giving your cash, you know. So if you don't get it back through ROAS campaigns, etc., you understand that, okay, I lost money. But on the directly ad monetization side, you never know. And I think in, I don't know, like close future, it will continue like that. So we will still have black boxes. But yeah, apart from that topic, I also want to talk about the SDK side, which is, I think, maybe the biggest issue.
Leaves.
Yeah.
SDK,
Thank you so much.
I feel like that was a very comprehensive answer to probably one of the more interesting questions that we have. But one thing that I can agree on, and I'm sure everyone in the audience will agree as well, every specific point that you all raised kind of goes hand in hand together. Unbiased data, transparency, establishing clear communication channel lines with a partner that you're going to be working with. Those things, like, you can't have one without the other. If you do, then you're not going to have the best optimal experience that you want. So I'm guessing those 3 points are definitely the keynotes of this little conversation that we had. And I'm very happy that we had that. I think it was very eye-opening as well. I'm sure everyone enjoyed it too. Moving on to a different topic. Well, I mean, I guess it's not really a different topic. It's really just in the flow of things. There was a lot of events over the past year, maybe 2 years, a lot of global events, a lot of unfortunate events as well, that had an effect on all aspects of our lives, whether it be global economics, whether it be, you know, the shifting dynamics in the entire world, or whether it be in the ad monetization ecosystem. So over the past year, what do you think about these new trends? What do you think the biggest changes in this industry have been like from a publisher's perspective, from a mediation side's perspective? How did these shifts affect the dynamics of the, I guess, ad ecosystem?
Tom, you're the first one.
Yeah,
Always.
do it maybe the
We
other way
always
around.
just
So,
like throwing Tom into the fire, like, okay, go.
yeah. I think the biggest change that we see it started in mid last year, and we see it as we speak. And I already spoke about it. Is the shift into full RTB kind of world. I think that in the past year we saw 2 huge networks switching or starting to switch from a traditional waterfall into RTB. The first one will be AdMob, that starting to work with RTB. And to be honest, no one thought that they will start to work with RTB because this was their biggest thing in order to like bring in customers for their mediation. And Unity switched to RTB as well. So it's 2 big things, because when you switch to work on an RTB basis, you literally cut about 70% of the time you will need to spend in optimizing those networks. And the second thing, something that is very important, I think, for the industry as a whole, we can see much more like the networks put emphasis on user experience. Like, I guess that everybody knows those kinds of annoying end cards when you see the X button and you're trying to push it and you get to the App Store. Then you try to push it again and you get to the mobile web. Then you push it again and you break your phone in the end. So
mini game, closing X mini game.
Yeah, so
There's an idea.
We can see that a lot of networks started to understand that this kind of annoying kind of ads or end cards literally hurt the retention. Like, users really churn after they see such a bad user or like suffer from such a bad user experience. So we see a lot of networks starting to put efforts on really investing time on putting the X button on the right place. That is a very hard thing to do. And I think that the third thing, the biggest change that we saw, was the interstitial policy of Google, that I think it hurts a lot of big
Definitely.
hyper-casual publishers. But I do have to say that this policy is still in the gray area, I would say. Like, Google is said we going to take care of it from now on, but like you still see games in the top charts that's still like showing you interstitial out of nowhere, and Google doesn't do anything about it. Maybe because AdMob going to serve this impression. I don't know.
No, it's because there's like a guy and they're having a conversation with another guy and they got a little deal going on.
You speak with your account manager and everything.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
but if you have no visibility, if you're some small studio, your account gets banned because you did that, right? By accident even, without maybe even in testing or something. Right?
Gone,
So,
instantly gone.
yeah,
If you're a smaller studio, they're
career's
ruthless.
over.
Yeah.
those are the changes I think I see from my side.
I agree.
I mean, obviously, the big change is whatever Apple wants to do, and we're all just kind of at their whim. Again, you can't talk about ad monetization in the future, past or present, without talking about UA and UA budgets. I mean, I've seen some talks with some data that didn't make a ton of sense to me, but I think if we look at the overall picture of the macro last 5 years, UA budgets have shrunk considerably, and a lot of that is just platform decision making. I mean, there was a $30 billion business at one point, and now it's a $10 billion business for much fewer people. So there's it's really I wish Apple could have made it and kind of like provided us a little bit more insight as to what the future will really look like, because it's kind of up to them. So the platforms are a big piece of that. I think another thing that we've continued to see and will be really interesting to see over the coming years is the degree of consolidation in the space. Right, there's just been so much acquisition, so many people getting scooped up. I mean, I worked at a mediation company that got bought by an offer wall company that got bought by another mediation company that just got bought by a game engine company. It's like, who's going to buy that company and where does it end?
Yeah.
And obviously the networks, the mediation companies themselves see the threat that Apple poses on their business. What are they going to do? Do they turn into the Rebel Alliance, or do they just start price fixing? I mean, so I think those two things, Apple taking a bite of the space, and of course the ad networks consolidating and trying to survive around that, are the the two biggest things that are impacting developers, big or small. Doesn't matter how successful you were. The course can change completely overnight without you having any ability to control that, which again I think creates this opportunity for new players with revolutionary models, transparency. Particularly I wanted to bring it back just one quick second, but new players coming in with radical approach to transparency, possibly a radical approach to payment terms.
Yeah.
Right. I think the number one thing that hinders small studios from growing is the fact that your UA money is due immediately, but your monetization money from the same person you don't get for 60, 90 days unless you got some sweetheart deal, and you can start funneling it into yourself. And so, how is the ecosystem supposed to thrive? It's obviously not designed for studios to thrive. It's designed for the higher players to thrive. So I think, that's what I see as the two massive things: Apple consolidation, and of course that creating an opportunity for radical approaches and new philosophies on it.
There's definitely a much bigger challenge for, I guess, SME, like small to medium-sized studios, shareholders in this industry compared to these like massive giants. And the best thing that you can do is kind of just like react and adapt to what's going on, because, like you said, there's not much that you can do unless you're just one of those giants unless you're one of those like big players that actually, influence the entirety of the industry with just a single decision that you made overnight, and next morning you wake up and what you did that used to work yesterday just isn't effective anymore. Definitely agree. It's definitely very ruthless and definitely very challenging for the smaller players, I guess. Any thoughts?
Actually, really, Chris, you touched on the basically feature of ad monetization side as well. So I want to dig in that side a bit more. And actually, I think the feature of our ecosystem is decided by the giants directly. So, people were talking about the US crisis, etc. But actually, whatever it is, it's like also stock market, So when the giants makes huge M&As, dynamics are directly changing. And actually, I think our ecosystem is not so welcoming for new startups. So they are generally either wasted or just getting bought by another one. So not so lively, I would say. So just to name the consolidation part that you explained, things actually started fascinating with the acquisition of Tapjoy by Iron Source, I think. And afterwards, we directly saw the Mop-Up acquisition by Applovin.
That was a big one.
It was like
that was a big one.
tac game, you know. Okay, you do that and I'll do
Yeah.
that. So then, bam again, Iron Source, Unity M&A. So I think it's currently not fully completed, but yeah, it's like.
It's definitely a battlefield. I mean, do you remember when the Unity Iron Source deal was going through?
Applovin
And then Applovin tried to pull an Elon Musk and just be like, I'll buy you for
Crazy
this.
one.
It's like, come on. Like, how long does it take to put those deals together? Right?
You're not
Stupid.
getting Apple.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to touch on one other sort of macro trend that I think impacts things in a way that we don't really calculate, but interest rates is a huge one, right? Interest rates go up, and all of a sudden money isn't free anymore, and people have to start like really thinking about like, are their businesses profitable or not?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, when interest rates are near 0% for these larger firms, they don't really think about profitability the same way that they do once money actually costs something to borrow. I think if you look at even giant companies are constricted by this, right? I mean, the Playrix announcement, Playrix or Playtika? Playrix, where they're like, oh, we're not going to release any new games for a while. Playtika, thank you. Until market conditions change. It's like, well, Apple's not like going to undo what they did. There's just no way. And it's not like you can control interest rates, and so money isn't free.
Yeah.
I don't know what they expect to change. Maybe interest rates will eventually recover. I'm sure they will. They ebb and flow, but yeah, I think that's a big one that obviously impacts UA budgets, ad monetization. If you can't borrow money for free to pump into your game on UA, then there's less money to be made on the ad monetization side. I think it'll be really interesting. I've got a question for you, actually, just a general question on the future of ad monetization. How long until Apple is a network you can monetize with?
I think it's also about Apple's policy, because they are making it pretty closed. Like it looks like so rigid. I don't know. They're looking like they're closed for change, and always they're like from a different planet, So I think it will always.
I mean, there's Apple search ads. Like, will there be a day when I see a rewarded video from Apple?
I don't think they're going to have like their own ad network or something like that, because I don't think they are interested in the like ad tech, I would call it, kind of.
Of course they are, though. Look what they just did.
Yeah, they did it with Apple search ads.
Yeah.
Like a lot of budgets are going now towards Apple search ads, but I think that the main difference, if you're looking on the biggest, giants in the tech industry, so if you compare Google to Apple, I think that the biggest change will be that Google is like 99% relying on ads in order to bring in a lot of money, and Apple is, not relying on ads. So I don't see any reason for Apple to go so hard into the, ad tech field, because they are they're making enough money on any other thing that they decide to do.
But they were before.
Well,
before ATT, before Apple Search, they were making plenty of money. They're like the highest market cap in any company in history, and they still did it.
They were making money with just phones before anything else. Like,
isn't it like?
I think there's a possibility that could happen. Yeah. I don't know when, but I wouldn't hold it beyond them. Definitely.
Probably be a great user experience, I bet. It would be good.
Expensive ones,
Yeah.
50 cents.
Rewarded video for an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Loving the flow of the conversation. We've got
Actually,
around.
Just another thing to top up here. I also would like to talk about. We are talking about the ad monetization future, but I think we should also discuss the future of ad network or future of mediation business a bit, because I think it's a part that nobody talks about. And so I'll just start with a sentence, and we'll let you also comment that. For me, currently it's so hard to be a new player in the market, either as a network or mediation side, because first of all, the difference is huge. So it's like, because you're not a grocery store, so you need to be competent with these guys, or the publishers won't prefer you. And same for the mediation side, because the server side is huge, and at the same time, they already have thousands of publishers, so there is no way for you to keep up with them. So how do you think? Because in the market, there are many ad network startups, also mediation startups. So also, from your publisher side, how do you see and evaluate the situation?
I think that the first thing is that we got into a point where the market is being held by giants. So those giants doesn't want those unique startups to come up because it will harm their revenues. And again, to be honest, if I'm looking at it from the publisher kind of perspective, in the end, we talked about the transparency and that the publishers are actually losing money. In the end, when you think about it as a publisher or as a game developer, you want to get the highest eCPM on each and every impression.
Yeah.
Like in the end, I'm not sure that you are looking, for transparency. You are looking for the highest, eCPM. I don't care what's going on behind the scenes. Show me the money. So I think that as we speak, the big giant mediation platforms does it well enough. Like they know how to optimize your eCPM, and we can see if you look on the past 3 years, let's say, so the eCPM maintains on the same, you have the typical eCPM you see for RV, for interstitial, for banners. You don't see fluctuations. So I think that if you will have a startup that will do some kind of a magic or, have a special algorithm that will, increase the eCPM by, I don't know, by 20%. So companies will start to think, okay, maybe we should work with them. But I think it's super competitive
it's a grind.
Field.
It's really hard, man. I feel
super
you.
Competitive.
I feel you for sure. I think oddly, for as innovative as the space that we work in, people in this space fear change like nothing I've seen, right? Like people would rather, better the devil you know, right? It's like, okay, well, it's like I know there's these issues, but it's like at the end of the day, like the paycheck's coming in and it works. Don't want to risk it, don't want to rock the boat. People will do something they know is imperfect when there's things out there they could try that might be better, and they might not, simply because one, it could just be a priority thing, right? Like, is it the highest priority in the world to find the absolute best mediation, or is the priority to make a really great game where it fundamentally might not move the needle as much to be looking at other mediation partners or other ad networks? And I think the large part of the ecosystem doesn't have a head of UA or monetization, right? So there isn't the person whose job it is to optimize that. Most of the studios out there are 2 to 10 people, definitely under 50, and they're so focused just on making a game that will actually generate revenue, period, that there isn't really anything to optimize to begin with. So yeah, I think, if we think about these divergent paths into the future, with all of the sort of macro changes that we've seen, hopefully maybe that opens up people's minds, the opportunity to experiment a little bit more, because I think the sort of flip side of the changes is that, as challenging as it is right now, it's equally as challenging for everyone, right? And it's kind of created a bit of a level playing field. So there's an opportunity for smaller, newer publishers to enter the space with a unique model like yours, smaller, newer mediation ad network partners like yours to enter the space. But it's up to the content creators to really be open to experimentation on that side, whether it's A/B testing, whether it's on a one-off game basis, whatever it may be. So, yeah, absolutely, incredibly challenging to change somebody's mind or change somebody's habits or change a person in general.
And actually, by the way, really great answers, and sorry for stealing the moderator role.
No,
we were A/B testing, right? So, so actually, I want to also talk about the same question side, but how ad networks and mediations, new players get the success, because I'm exactly in the market, so I just want people to hear about that side. So I think for ad networks, new ad networks, they get smaller cut. I mean, better deal modeling and smaller percentage. So for example, any giant ad network is working with, I don't know, 30%, and these new guys are okay with 5%. So in the RTB side, they are getting the demand because they're almost not making much money, but it's good for them. So they are growing much more aggressive. So that's the number one thing for ad network. And for the mediation side, I think we, in the beginning, talked about the problems of the mediation. So for example, support, communication, also transparency, the black boxes, etc. I think these are also good opportunities for new players in the market to solve out, because you need to come enter to the market by solving some problems. Then okay, you can say, hey guys, there is no more this problem in your life, we fix it out, etc. And yeah, that's actually what also our company is trying to do. So as I told you a bit, fully transparency, not like just half transparency. And at the same time, I think it's really important to be able to support your publishers. So when you are also new in the market, let's talk about tomorrow, there will be a new mediation guy, and they will like maybe spend hours with their publishers every day, maybe. So yeah, just wanted to comment about that side.
Awesome. I didn't want to interrupt anyone, but we are running a little bit short on time. We've got around 6 or 7 minutes before they kick us out of here. So I don't want to hold any of the good people hostage, nor you guys. I'm going to move on to our final question right now. Alternate methods, new methods in advertisement approaches. There's a lot of trend AI right now. I'm sure you've noticed, especially anyone in the tech industry, anyone in the games industry, development industry, publishing industry, whatever they may be. AI is one of the top trends right now. Machine learning alongside that as well. Constantly comes up with topics related to our business, to our industry as well. Do you think these types of, I guess, new emerging / emerged trend technologies will affect what you guys do in the business, in the industry? And if so, how will it happen? Do you think there'll be like new methods of ads and ad monetization methods incorporated with the fusion of these new technologies that have been emerging recently?
I can touch on that first, I guess, just quickly, because I don't have much
A/B
to say on
testing,
it.
please.
Not A/B testing. No. Well, again, thinking more from like the design, like game designer, product manager perspective, user experience. If the goal is to get a user to click on that ad in the first place, to say launch the rewarded video, right? Leave everything else out afterwards. The ad networks do their thing to control what serves in there. I think there's a lot of interesting potential to see what AI could do to increase the clickability of that ad. Whether it's the design of the placement, when it serves in game, and to whom it serves. I think there's a lot that could be done there. And fundamentally, that is like what the developer can control, right? Past that, in these black boxes, which will only get blacker probably for a while, it's really out of their hands. So I'm excited to see what is developed on that side that empowers developers first. So yeah.
There was one sentence that I really laughed at while I was observing one of the panels here. I don't remember who said it, but AI came up today as well. One of the topics of the panels that were presented, and someone said that don't worry, AI is not going to steal your job. However, some guy that knows how to use AI will steal your job, and I feel like there's a lot of potential there as well for every shareholder in this industry. Some guy that's going to use AI is going to come up with amazing methods in this business.
Absolutely.
Okay, so alternative methods. I think that it's not an alternative method, but I think that something that we saw interesting during the past year, a lot of games, like hyper-casual games mainly, started to use audio ads. It's not new kind of ads, but they started to implement it. I think that the pros of those ads is that you can use them as user-initiated ads, and as forced ads, and if you use them as forced ads, they are not as intrusive as banners or interstitial. and they have a pretty wide coverage in terms of fill rate around the world. Like in US, Tier 1, LATAM, they have a pretty high fill rates. And the cones will be a pretty big cone that the eCPM is like very, very low. It's like banner eCPM, so you need to choose if you use either banner or audio ads, because if you use both,
this is going to be too much.
You can actually switch to another.
What about like subliminal audio to get
yeah, yeah, you know, put like a good a Tupac song maybe, you know, on the So, and I do think that it's not an alternative method, but something interesting that we see as well, that a lot of hyper-casual games started to use both app open ads, that it used to be a big no-no. You know, it used to be a kind of an ad, you know, that you open the app and the first thing you see is an ad. You can close it after like 2 seconds. Yeah. It's their favorite kind of ads for Chris, like he really liked those ads. So actually a lot of like game studios started to use them. I think that the pros for those kind of ads will be the very, very high eCPM and high fill rates. The cons, of course, will be, again, another kind of a forced ads to show to the user. But again, if you run an A/B test and you give your users a good product and a good content, believe me that they will prefer to see this 2-second ad in the beginning of the game and not seeing it again until the next time they're going to initiate the game, rather to see an interstitial every end of session. So if you balanced your economy and you will show an app open ad, but then you will increase your time interval between interstitials, so maybe your users like it more. So in the end, you will have a longer retention and a higher LTV. Yeah, this is it.
We're currently testing that, actually. We have a new soft launch right now. Fingers crossed.
Congrats.
Am I right? Yeah, and we're actually testing the click-to-open app type of ads as well. And we're like looking at the balance, looking at the like time margins, like how many seconds should we do it, how many seconds in between should there be between. And we're getting some decent results from that as well. So I definitely agree that could definitely be something to look out for in the near future,
right? Like if
sooner rather than later.
Comes in, you know, if somebody downloads your game from an ad,
right?
I mean, they've just seen an ad. They're probably going to watch another one, right? And they just downloaded a game from an ad, so they already have a high propensity to download, and that's really what you're getting paid on anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Not totally the worst idea.
Do you have anything to add? Otherwise,
yeah, I
wrap
also
this up.
don't want to getting kicked out, but last topic to talk about. I also like, you know, talking about the opposite side of our mediation business, and I think most of the publishers are really bored of this ad network mediation optimization integration stuff. Really bored, and I think, you know, the question also was about machine learning side. So especially in our side, I think this programmatic ecosystem will evolve to full RTB. I have a feeling there is no data showing everything will be bidding side, but probably in upcoming years, I have a feeling that there won't be any more pain about that integration, going to the ad network's website, creating the tag, coming to the mediation again, writing the price points. Like, it's really boring and annoying. So yeah, that's the thing that I'm expecting to show up in a couple of years.
Awesome, awesome. We just made amazing time. It is 18:29.
Wow.
I have around 45 seconds to waste. What should I do?
Maybe you can also answer about this.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, the thing that really attracts my attention is what Tom said as well. I guess, relatively newish type of experimental ads, especially on the hyper-casual side of things. I'm going to look out for those. We're personally looking out for them as well with our new soft launch, and I'm just kind of anticipating the results right now as well. Having said that, first and foremost, obviously, I'd like to thank my amazing panelists for making my job a billion times easier. It was a great pleasure to actually get to meet you guys in person as well, and thank you so much for spending this time with me. I'd like to thank the audience for sticking with us, for being amazing as well. And without further ado, and before getting kicked out, let's go. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
That's right. So running off the stage.
Yeah. Fuck off, you know.
Thank you so much.